Over the last several years, the City of Syracuse has done a great job. I want to compliment the mayor on identifying flood mitigation projects that need to happen and prioritizing them. I was at this very spot 2 years ago discussing several projects the city had identified, including dredging local creeks, removing out-of-use rail bridges, and new strategies for reducing the risk of future flooding. And as you'll remember, it was 2 years ago I was urging FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Association, to delay implementation of its new flood maps, which were originally put together in 2010, so the city could have time to begin implementing these projects to reduce the risk of flooding. Now, being able to implement these projects was critical because they had the potential to decrease flood insurance rates, which are very onerous, to homeowners in the community. And it would impact discounts that people were entitled to for those who had already paid flood insurance. FEMA is finally planning to put out maps that will determine which property owners surrounding the Onondaga Creek area will need to purchase the necessary flood insurance for their homes and properties. And if FEMA has its way, it's going to release its map in the next few weeks. The flood maps are important. They ensure that those who live very close to the creek have the insurance they need to rebuild in the event of another horrible storm. And the new map should also make it clear that certain property owners are in the clear from paying flood insurance because they're not at risk. But that's not what's happening, sadly. What has the City of Syracuse and its residents so concerned right here, and rightly so, is the fact that FEMA has potentially included about 150 homes and properties into these soon-to-be-released maps based on inaccurate data about the flooding. And it's not the first time. I have found in FEMA maps throughout our state, there is often inaccurate data. I've also found you got to push FEMA hard to make sure that they don't cling to the inaccurate data. And again, that's very important. Why? Because homeowners could pay up to $1,200 a year in extra insurance premiums when they're wrongly mapped. In other words, flood insurance costs anywhere from $250 to $1,200. If you don't need it and they're forcing you to buy it, or you can't sell your home, get a mortgage on your home, improve your home, that's an outrage. That's taking money out of people's pockets for no good reason. The good work of the city and of the state DEC says 150 homeowners should not have to buy flood insurance, but if FEMA doesn't change its maps, they will be forced to, even though they don't need it. That's the bottom line. According to the study the city and DEC have been working on since 2013, they measure, the measurements in Onondaga Creek are incorrect. The environmental experts that studied the creek for the last year determined that FEMA estimated the creek to be narrower in the width than it actually is. So this isn't up to debate. If FEMA says the creek is 12 feet wide and it's really 14 feet wide, they're wrong. It's not one of these questions, well, maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. They are wrong. What sounds like a technicality could actually be a money saver for lots of Syracuse residents. And that's why we have to get this right. We need to make sure that FEMA has not overestimated Onondaga Creek's potential for flooding and incorporated these 150 properties inaccurately into the flood zone. Today I am urging FEMA to account for this new data in its revised flood zone maps. They've waited a while at our request. They can wait a little longer, study this data, and tell us why they wouldn't incorporate it. I invite FEMA to come here, measure the creek. They'll find the city is right and they are wrong. After 2 years of hard work, I was able to announce in March of this year that Congress voted to scrap parts of a 2012 law that would have imposed massive flood insurance rate hikes on the owners of 3,000 properties here in central New York. It was important to prevent these drastic hikes from being implemented. That doesn't change. I flooded Administrator Fugate's ear to say now you got to make one more change and add these 150 so they won't be included as well. So, no family, whether it's the 3,000 we were able to get out from under in 2012 or the 150 who should be getting out from under this year, no family should be forced to pay for flood insurance they don't need. We're going to do everything we can to see that that happens. And with that, let me call on our great mayor.
Thank you, Senator Schumer. It's always great to have you back in Syracuse with your orange tie.
I have, as the Post Standard revealed, I have 4 ties, orange, and I rotate them when I come to Syracuse.
We appreciate that very
And
much.
maybe you'll tell me, Mayor, how's this one?
It looks good. I'm a
Okay.
fan.
Okay.
I'm a
good.
fan of the orange tie, and I'm a fan of you coming here once again to the creek to help us really fight the good fight for the people of the city of Syracuse. FEMA has a job to do, and what we're asking them to do is to get it right the first time. The maps that they have don't include accurate data, and through partnership with the state DEC and the hard work of our engineering department, we have hard and fast data that shows that their maps are inaccurate. And by having accurate maps when they publish it, it will impact the lives of 150 families. That will enable them to spend money on improving their properties and making sure that they're paying for other things, not flood insurance for a 100-year flood that will never come according to the data that we have. And so, of course, we can't do this by ourselves, and we never feel like we're by ourselves when Senator Schumer is with us, and so we thank him for his help. Again, I want to thank the state for coming through and helping doing the study, and thank our engineering department. As the senator said so eloquently, this isn't a case of debatable statistics. These are hard and fast measurements that an engineering firm did, an objective third party that came through and shows that we can really, this will have an impact on about 150 properties. And so again, we say to FEMA, get it right the first time so that we don't victimize people in the city of Syracuse.
Great.
Thank you.
Counselor, you want to say anything? Feel free.
Well, certainly express my appreciation for the senator and the mayor and her engineering department for their due diligence. Often the mistake is made to deal with situations remotely. I think it's a lot more intelligent, of course, to deal with the people on the ground who understand what's happening here. The large portion of this area is in the council district that I represent, and these areas are essentially economically challenged areas. The bigger concern being people on fixed incomes who are already struggling to keep up with the existing costs for their homes. This added cost, of course, would more than likely make these people, or cause these people to lose their homes. So any effort that's made to shrink the maps, to reduce the number of families impacted, is certainly appreciated. Again, Senator, thank you. And Mayor and your department, thank you as well.
Thank you, Councilor.
Okay, questions?
What kind of reaction are you getting if they're saying, no, we're sticking with our...
Well, we're getting 2 reactions. The first is they feel under pressure to release maps under a deadline. And what we've said to that is we want to make sure that you release accurate maps first. We think it's more important to release accurate maps than it is to meet some arbitrary deadline. And then secondarily they say, well, you know, you can always after the fact go through a process to get them updated. And we say, again, that's not the way government should work. That's not serving the public. And that's why we have been working with Senator Schumer and others and sharing the data with them.
Yeah, I just sum it up and say that accurate maps that take a little longer are a lot better than inaccurate maps that come out right now.